What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Corning. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I'm trudging through the hangings on of the flu that had me laid up all weekend long. I appreciate you all understanding that I didn't have videos this weekend, but sometimes you got to shut her down and let your body recuperate. But this is a story I absolutely wanted to cover because it's hilarious. Jemele Hill, who got her big break essentially on ESPN, pretending to care about sports, but really just using it as a vehicle to push woke ideology on people, eventually getting terminated from the network, had another hilarious woke backfire. After demanding her boss give $100 million contract to a black podcast host for no reason other than being black, is no longer going to be working with Spotify. I wonder, how could that have happened? What a bizarre and racist thing to happen. I can't understand. She has 1,000th of the following that Joe Rogan does. Why wouldn't Spotify just pay her the same they paid Joe Rogan? This is racism. I don't really know any other way to describe it. Anyway, Jemele Hill is now leaving Spotify after daring company to pay black host $100 million. By the way, quick reminder, link in the description. I won't do any reminders tomorrow. I know you're getting annoyed, but I want to make sure you get your Father's Day gift boxes reserved. Link in the description from my coffee brand coffee company. We have more than coffee. We have coffee, tea, and cocoa, by the way. Our gift boxes sell out every holiday, so make sure you use promo code DAD, save 10% too. So use a link in the description and start building that while we're talking here. Now, here's the original article. Jemele Hill is leaving Spotify. The move comes as the service faces pressure to rein in costs and deliver profits, reports Bloomberg. And unlike other Spotify-distributed podcasts, Jemele Hill's never attracted any kind of substantial audience ever or delivered profits. Despite the platform endlessly promoting her show on its homepage, Jemele Hill's podcast does not even rank among the top 200. Jemele Hill is no match for the 197th ranked Prof. Cal's Audio's Anya Smiley Face podcast, whatever that is. Jemele titled her podcast, Jemele Hill is Unbothered, though the show was anything but a podcast from an unbothered host. In fact, she built the show around the hypothesis of just how bothered she is with the state of the country, specifically how racist and how white America is. The episode list is full of unjust hysteria, featuring guests like rabble-rouser weirdo Ellie Mistal, who, and we do mean weirdo, who declared the Constitution trash on the program. Who doesn't want to hear two whiny multimillionaires decry the injustices they pretend to face? Based on Hill's ratings, not very many people. Undoubtedly, Jemele Hill and her supporters will attribute racism to her exit. Bloomberg was given the first information about her departure, racialized the move in the very first paragraph of the report. Well, is anybody really surprised by that? I mean, legitimately. Race is extremely profitable, and it's all the mainstream media really knows. I just talked about the plane that went down and how that was reported. Like, oh, they donated money to the GOP. That was leading the story, as opposed to, the terrible situation that it was. Quote, another prominent podcaster is leaving Spotify Technology SA as the company reverses many of its big investments on original audio and loses yet another black voice, writes the outlet. I mean, nobody's forcing her to leave. Calling Hill prominent and citing her race is how you secure scoops. They don't teach that in Journalism 101, however. The divorce also comes after Hill tried to extort money from Spotify in the name of equality. In 2022, she dared Spotify to give her, or another black host, but probably herself, the same money as Joe Rogan. What I would like to see, Hill said in an interview with the New York Times, is for Spotify to hand $100 million to someone who is black. Do you think that she probably actually does think this? First of all, there are many prominent black podcasts out there. I'd be willing to bet that there will be a black podcast host that makes $100 million in the near future. Podcasting is, probably the least barrier to entry thing in history, where people can really make a name for themselves. And the idea, of course, is that she really wanted the $100 million, even if she wasn't even in the top 200. We better pay a black host Rogan money or we'll be called racist. That was the conclusion Hill hoped her employer would draw upon her challenge. However, Spotify did not comply. See, there is not a black podcaster worth Joe Rogan-type salary, nor is there another white podcaster worth $100 million. There is only one podcaster who is, and the podcaster who does, Joe Rogan. Rogan did not secure a 9-figure deal because of his whiteness. Spotify issued such terms to meet an expanding market demand. Hill has no such market. As we wrote at this time, Hill's demands exemplifies a problem with racially obsessed worldview. Hill cries racism when there is a successful white person who does not have a black counterpart. However, the top individual in any field, whether white or black, almost never has any equivalent. They're the top precisely because they don't have an equal. Rogan has no equal, neither does Oprah, and companies should not have to match their investments into said talents to comply with DE&I initiatives. Spotify has shown backbone in resisting such pressure. It's called prioritizing business over public relations. More companies should try it. In short, Jemele Hill is not a sound investment. She moves the needle on Twitter, but that's to the extent. Brands have never been unable to monetize her outrage, and she provides a lot of it. Well, that's the thing. A lot of times, that's what I've said for a long time about the left and their effectiveness at getting a lot of likes on Twitter stuff. That never really equals sales, or very rarely does. And there's a lot of people who are really popular on Twitter that don't make any money from it and don't drive any sales. That's why they're like, please pay me $5 a month to view my tweets. Even though all I do is steal other people's videos or stories and repackage them as my own. I don't have any problem with people earning money, but these type of people don't actually add any value. They don't have any opinions of their own. They're just repackaging it and presenting it as their own. Once Hill leveraged her hysteria into a show called SC6 on ESPN, yet no one watched it. The show wasn't any good. Thereby, ESPN canceled it, and the hour has thrived ever since. Likewise, Hill hosted a show called Won't Stick to Sports on Vice TV with entitled brat Carrie Champion. We wish her producers well. That show also failed and is no longer on the air. Perhaps no one can measure Hill's stardom by her book sales. One can measure it, or lack thereof. That is, Hill released a memoir last October on her journey in overcoming, wait for it, racism. The book sold just 5,000 copies in 2 months, a number equal to some self-published cookbooks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could move 5,000 copies of a book relatively easily, and I wouldn't have anywhere near the help that Jemele Hill does. And what's great about all of this is, like, now she's come out and said, well, actually, I'm not shutting down. You see Bloomberg, Hill joins exodus of black podcasters leaving the platform. Who? And by the way, leaving the platforms, I mean, how many people have podcasts? Oh my God, I'm so tired. Podcasts all over the place, right? I mean, you don't need to have, you don't need to have Spotify. Spotify doesn't pay a lot of these people. The podcasts are just available there. If you read the article, you come to find out the writer's referencing, she gave old, so Jemele Hill writes, people, a lot of what's been reported isn't true. My podcast hasn't been canceled. I have never asked Spotify for 100 million. This stuff is truly comical. Next week's guest is Sabrina Elba. In the next coming weeks, Blair Underwood, Cassie, a bunch of people I don't know. I mean, except nobody cares. I think that it's pretty hilarious. It's like when all those MTV people try to be YouTubers and we saw their real viewership numbers, and that like literally nobody watched their shows. Nobody cared about their podcasts or their YouTube videos. They were just, nobody watched them. You see 100 likes per tweet. This is somebody with 1.4 million fake followers. 1.4 million Pakistani bots. I think that it's pretty hilarious. Now, she did issue a statement. I don't think that she probably does. The ultimatum to get $100 million was probably not specific, but we all know what she meant. And I think that it's hilarious. And then you see like the woke, the root, mind your business and stop worrying about Jemele Hill's money. Why is Jemele Hill worried about everyone else's money then? She's amounted to basically nothing more than a race grifter, just like any one of those, BLM Inc. people who enrich themselves and while constantly complaining about how the world was against them. And you see, as much as y'all trying to run with this fire narrative, I've still never been fired from a job in my whole life. Well, you've had numerous shows canceled. What would you call that? I think the whole thing is pretty hilarious to me. I think that, yeah, it's probably framing by Outkick, but it's still a hilarious story. And Jemele has said, says her podcast was not, quote, canceled, but didn't deny the cited Bloomberg report that she is, quote, leaving Spotify. In fact, she states she's leaving due to investment and growth differences, which Bloomberg reported and is cited below, was due to Spotify needing to, quote, rein in costs and deliver profits. She also never directly asked Spotify for $100 million. That is correct. But as also reported below, she publicly challenged Spotify to hand $100 million to somebody who is black, somebody as in one person, meaning herself or another black podcaster as reported. It's unclear what Jemele Hill thought to accomplish with her tweet. Perhaps all she cleared up was that she would be out of the company, but yet has not left. As of yet has not left. I love it. Make sure you get your Father's Day gift boxes today. Promo code DAD, link in the description. We'll talk to you again real soon.